Awesome. Hey, I like the shirt.
Oh yeah, this is one of my favorites.
So there's a good buddy of mine. I think I was telling you that also went to Furnace Fest last year. And so I
Okay.
told him, I was like, hey man, I'm gonna go in October. And he's like on the fence about it now because he's like, last time was supposed to be the last time. And he said it was so perfect. It was so magical. He's like, I don't know if I can do it again. But
So I feel the exact same way. I
yeah,
feel the exact same way. It's like I'm glad they brought it back, but it's also it's like a weird thing. It's like the reason I went last time is like I've never
yeah,
been. We got to go. It's
yep,
the last one. Like I got like childcare set up. I got like saved up my money. Like it was
yep.
like a big thing. Me and my buddy went all out, and then we did it. We're so glad, and like I'm still sore from it to
Yeah,
this day.
yeah, right.
And and then it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do it again. Like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah. All right.
but
Okay, so top three shows at Furnace Fest and
oh
why?
man.
Just hitting you with the tough hitting questions right off the bat.
Yeah. Okay. So I already feel judged by this answer based on your first episode, but Better Lovers with a flamethrower
No, wait.
was
Okay.
top tier.
No, so so just so none of our listeners misunderstand too, I loved Better Lovers Live. It
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
great.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
they're
That actually,
wild.
I was super impressed. There was no flamethrower. I thought they were gonna break it out, but part of me was a
Yeah,
little concerned because like this venue is really small and it's like a 100 plus year old like venue. I'm like, please don't
yeah,
burn down the Nile. Um, but it
yeah.
was that like the fact that I don't know, just the energy is pretty impressive. That those guys can maintain the entire show. So especially because they're all like our age or older, right? I mean, those guys are all getting
Yes.
pretty old, so. There's no
Yeah.
shame in that. I like Better Lovers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, they just put on such a good show.
Yeah.
Like I'll listen to them every now and then, or like they'll pop up in my
Yeah.
playlist. But live, I also saw them like when they first
Yeah.
started. They played this tiny little venue here in San Diego called Brick by Brick. It holds like 400 people.
Yeah.
And I was like, telling my buddy, I was like, we got to go now because these guys are gonna get big. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like a super band that nobody knows
Yeah.
yet. And so we saw him at this like packed, like tiny little venue. And like that was insane, just
Yeah.
like high energy. They're like hanging on the rafters and
Yep.
like, I think they broke a sprinkler from like
Yeah.
and and then you saw them at Furnace Fest, like knew it was gonna be and like they just keep upping it, like a
They do.
flamethrower,
Yeah.
like
So
so
I mean, and you'll see them too, right? They're on that Poison the Well tour.
yeah, yeah,
So we'll get to see them again. Which will be
yes,
good.
yes.
I mean, and I gotta be honest, and I'm sure like the guys in the band, like in Better Lovers, would be so annoyed to hear this, and I'm sure they hear it a lot. But like I gotta be honest, I walked away from that show. Like I got in my truck and I was driving home, and Every Time I Die came on, and I was a little sad. I was a little sad that it
Yes.
wasn't Every
Oh,
Time
I
I
know.
Die.
I
Um,
know. I get
but
it.
you know, so it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Better Lovers was a good one. What were the other two out of the best?
Um, well, okay. Oh man, these I have like a top one, and then like my number two is like, and I it was like, it's a toss up between there was like Poison the Well was so good.
Yeah,
And that was like them like first coming out of retirement for a
yeah, that's right.
while. And like now they're back and like now they have a new song and now
Yep,
they're touring again. And I think Furnace Fest has like a tendency to do that to bands. Like we've seen other bands where they like
right.
play at Furnace Fest. They're like, actually, that was super cool. And then they
Yep,
like come back.
yep.
Um, but like, and that show, that was the sweatiest I think I've ever been in my life. Like my shirt looks like you had just stuck it in like a bucket of
Yes.
water and then like
Yep.
put it back on.
Yep.
Um, that was awesome. But then I was also gonna say like Evergreen Terrace.
Oh, dude.
That one was like a surprise for me. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting it, and it was at like 11 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah.
and everyone's standing around like those early shows, like no one's really like shoulder to shoulder yet, and it's like kind of like oh like Evergreen, and
Yeah.
then they come out and some of their super fans just start
Oh,
opening
dude.
and the energy went from 0 to 150 and it was like this is awesome.
So great. So
so
great. Dude,
and those
I
are
like
Yeah.
little side story, the one show I got thrown out of when I was just like being a stupid teenager was an Evergreen
Yeah.
Terrace show. So I feel like
Yeah.
so like I shot myself in the foot because I was so excited to see them because I listened to those guys so much back in the day, like still do.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to see them. I don't even remember the opening bands. It was a small show in Spokane, Washington. I
Yeah.
don't even remember the opening bands. Didn't pay any attention to them. Evergreen comes out and like song number two, I just like started getting in this fight with this guy and got. And it wasn't even I wasn't even really into it,
Yes.
but it was just like
Yes.
I was there and I got thrown out by security and couldn't come back in, so I missed him. So I still need to redeem myself a bit and
Yeah.
see Evergreen Terrace someday.
Well, and they're like, have you ever seen that meme where it's like, if the lead singer looks like this, you know, it's about to be like you're about to die in the pit
That's
or
right.
something.
That's
Like
right. Yeah, yeah,
that's like Evergreen Terrace. This guy
yeah,
comes out and he's got the like Harry Potter glasses. And he's
yep,
like, all right, guys, like this is gonna be a fun time. I hope everyone's
yeah,
having a really good time. And then it's just like chaos,
yeah.
it was
So
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
So those are
Oh
was
yeah.
Evergreen Terrace and Poison the Well kind of tied for number two, or were
Yeah.
those okay?
Yeah. I know. I totally cheated here and I gave you a top four, but it's
No, I
like
like it.
the like energy of those two were so
Yeah.
similar, like this unexpected and like old school. But then like number one is like Norman Jean, right? Like it was like I was like a part of history,
I knew it was
like
coming. I knew that was it. Yeah.
it has to be. And I've seen Norma Jean a couple times here in San Diego, and like they like opened for POD
Oh
randomly,
yeah.
and then they like were on tour with Emery and kind of like an old guys tour. Like I've
That's
seen them a
right. Yeah.
lot, and they like play a lot. And so, but then when they start playing like the Chariot songs, and it was just something different. It was
Man,
unreal.
yeah.
So
So I
yeah,
just keep bouncing off of your stories into like stories, but
yeah,
I saw so Norma Jean went on this was the last time I saw them, they were on their Oh God, the Aftermath like 10-year anniversary or something like that, 10 or 15, I can't remember.
yeah.
But this was right after Josh had started 68 after the Chariot broke up.
Okay,
Um, and so like I'd been seeing videos like on YouTube and stuff, like where Josh would come out and do the encore and
yeah,
Memphis will be laid to waste. And he didn't do it at the show that I went to. Like everyone's waiting for it. It's like
yeah,
no
yeah.
offense, but like everyone's waiting for that last song and they're waiting for him to come up and he didn't do it. And I remember just like being so crushed. And now I just watched that video from the last
Yeah.
Furnace Fest on like a weekly basis and die a little
Yeah.
bit inside every single time. But
Well, there was this like buzz in the air, like because it's like, okay, it's Furnace Fest. Everybody's been like collabing. Everyone's
yeah,
been like, and there's just like everyone's kind of, is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? It's like
yeah,
getting towards the end of the Norma Jean set, and like the 68 they'd played like earlier, so like
yeah,
we know that they're there.
right.
Uh, and so it's like, and then when he comes out, and then like that was like, I mean, that was the one where, well, at Under Oath, like half the crowd was on the stage, but like every like most of these shows, everyone like rushed the stage, which
Yeah.
was unreal.
Yeah.
Like having no barrier the entire festival was unreal. Like
So sweet.
that's like a totally different topic, but like it
Yeah.
changes the feel of the show so
Oh,
much.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember when speaking of the Chariot, I went and watched the Chariot on their farewell tour.
yeah,
And I remember like as soon as they start, like they did the sound check, and as soon as they get like you knew they were gonna kick into the first song, like the entire crowd starts moving forward. And it was like my feet got lifted up off of the ground and I was just moving
yeah,
forward whether I wanted to or not, just like
yes,
getting carried by the
yes,
crowd. And that was one of the
yeah,
happiest nights of my life for sure, was that show. But
yeah. That's awesome
awesome. Well, hey man, it's awesome just to hang out and
for
do
sure.
this. Just to introduce you real quick, everybody. This is Jesse. Jesse and I met, dude. What did we sent like a Facebook memory from like 15 years? How long ago was it?
Yeah, it was a long time ago because it was back in Missoula.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it was before I had kids. And so like
Yeah.
my oldest is 13, so at
Yeah.
least 13 years. So
It's got to be. Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm pretty
yeah,
sure I had at least one kid. Because you and I, because we met, because we were both working in separate youth ministries at the time.
right, right.
And then the last episode, I was talking about how there was kind of like this short little surge of like hardcore shows that would come to Missoula, and then it just
Right.
died out. And did you come to Impending Doom when they came
I
through? Like
did.
that little
I did.
church, yeah, basement kind of a show. And so that
dude,
was kind of how we connected.
still
Um,
one of my top shows.
it
To
was so
like
fun, man.
see a band go so hard in like a tiny youth
Yeah,
room, like it was insane.
so fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so, yeah, we met, it's got to be close to 15 years ago. And this, I
yeah,
feel like our friendship is kind of one of those friendships that we connected through music. And it's like, especially in somewhere like, Missoula, where I didn't have a lot of people that listen to that same kind of music. You're just like instantly connected, right? And it's just like, we're best friends now,
100%.
like stepbrothers. Like, did we just become best friends? Like, um,
100%.
and how many kids do you guys have now?
Yeah, we've got three
Yeah,
kids.
three. Okay.
So I've got a 13-year-old, a 9-year-old, and then a 4-year-old little girl who is
Gotcha.
spoiled and little girl who gets anything she wants.
Awesome. Yeah. As it should be. We
Yeah,
I don't have, I mean, we just have the two boys, but
yeah,
my two nieces were just here visiting us for a few days. And I mean, they're a ton of fun. I love being an uncle to
yeah.
nieces, right? And I mean, there was always part of me that was like, oh, I would love to have girls, and we had boys, which is great. But man, hats off to you. Having girls it stresses me out, especially like now that like Emmett is a teenager and he's got like
Yeah,
a quote unquote, it's not really a girlfriend. We're not calling her a girlfriend. It's just like a friend. Um, but
yeah.
I'm just like, dude, I can't imagine. I can't imagine how I would allow any teenage boy to survive walking through my front door to like, date my daughter. But
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We've got a while to worry about that, but
yeah, yeah,
I am thinking about it for sure. And yeah, I've got two older boys, and then we've got the little girl. And it's
yeah,
like to me, it's amazing how much different it really was. Like when she was born, and like there's like a different part of my heart
yeah.
that she just like tugs on, you know,
That's
that's like
awesome.
where the boys like, hey, get out of here, go to bed. And with her, it's like,
Yeah,
okay, come on. Yeah.
that's so great. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think, well, and with boys, I think, obviously there's, with daughters, there's a lot of emphasis on like, you want to protect them. You want to,
Mhm.
raise them to know how to pick a good man and how to, have respect for themselves and stuff like that. But my wife and I talk a lot, like with boys, especially like there's such a huge need to, I think, raise them to be good men. Like
Mhm.
don't just stay a boy your entire life. Like you need to be a good man. Like you need to be respectful, and I think it's almost, I mean, with, kids, with boys and girls, there's this uphill struggle, just with everything in culture. Like, this is what it means to be a man. And it's just so opposite, really. We've got all these guys walking around in society that like think they're a man, but they're really just these little boys. And, I think that's just I don't know, it's a struggle either way, man. I mean, being a parent is daunting. Like it's like you don't want to mess your kids up, but at the same time, you don't want to mess the world up either. Like you want the
For
world to be a
sure.
better place because your kids are in it. But
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. It is. It's tough. And it's like a lot of responsibility
yeah,
and it just seems to be getting harder too, right?
yeah,
Like, you know, you talked about this a little bit on the last episode, but there's like a lot of pressure on guys that maybe isn't talked about as not as
yeah,
much, or maybe just guys don't want to talk about it as much, but
yeah.
there's still a lot of pressure. It's just different.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, right now, I mean, you're working, you're doing the dad thing, the husband thing.
Mhm.
You're going to school right now too. Like you're in graduate school.
Yeah, yeah,
How's
yeah,
So tell me about that, man. I mean, because
yeah.
that's huge too. You're already working and, taking care of the family, but like you are continuing to, better yourself and be a better version of yourself and learn and grow.
Yeah.
And tell me what that's been like the last couple of years.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's good. It's everything felt a little too boring with everything we
Sure.
have going on, so I just wanted to add more. No, it's
Yeah,
good.
right.
I think like in my career path has been pretty like steady and like climbing the corporate ladder,
Yeah.
and so like I've gotten to a point where it's like, well, like I'm kind of capped out with where I am. And my manager's got their master's degree, his manager's
Yeah.
got their master's degree, the top level, they've got some kind of advanced degree. And I'm like fortunate enough that like at my job, they'll actually help like pay for it, and they're
Oh, that's
very like
sweet.
flexible with the timing, so they like
Yeah.
support it because they also that benefits them too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, talked with my wife about it, and like it's a sacrifice on the whole family because There's definitely some like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm working Monday through Friday. There's Saturdays where like I have to go study.
Yep.
I've got to go work on a project. And so really, I mean, like we took it as like a family decision. It wasn't like a like, sorry kids, dad's doing this
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
like it really was like, hey, like in order to like better us like long term, we're gonna try to do this thing short term.
Yeah.
So and yeah, I mean it's been good. There's just like such a balance there. Um, I think like for me personally, it's something I never saw myself doing. I was never like
Yeah.
a good student like in
Yeah.
high
Yeah. Yeah.
school and stuff. So to like look back at like 18-year-old Jesse that's like sneaking out to go to hardcore shows and be like, you're gonna
Yep.
get your master's while you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
three kids is is
Yep.
mind blowing.
That's awesome.
But it's good. It's been good.
Yeah.
It's been really good for, get kind of like scratches an itch I didn't know I had to,
Yeah.
of like a little more, I don't know, it's like a challenging thing that like I
Yeah.
push myself. So
Well, and I think it takes a while too to like realize that you want to do that. Or like if you're going to put
mm,
all that effort into like all of this school and invest all that time, um, it's like you really want to know that this is something you want to do. Like this is going to pay off. I mean, same with
yeah.
me, man. I got my master's when I was in my 30s, and I mean, I failed college. Like I never, I never even got an undergraduate degree, like, by the grace of
Yeah.
God and, some convincing somebody to let me into this graduate program, they did. So it's like I have a master's, but there's no bachelor's like before it. It's just a
Yeah.
master's.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but yeah, because I did the same thing. I mean, I was 18 years old in college on my own for the very first time. It's like I don't have to go to math class. I can go steal Wi-Fi from this coffee shop and download, a bunch of viruses from LimeWire on my computer, because I want the new Evergreen
Yeah.
Terrace album or whatever it was. So yeah, I think and part of it too, there's that pressure to just you got to graduate, you got to go to college, you got to get a good job, and stuff like that. And so I think a lot of people just kind of get trapped in this like, man, I did this because I was supposed to do it, but like there's no passion
Exactly.
in this for me. It's kind of just sucking me dry. And so that's cool, man. It's cool. Do you feel old when you go to class, or is there like people that
Oh, yeah.
is that a thing?
So like it's mostly online.
Mm-hmm.
But I did go to like in-person orientation.
Yeah.
And so, I go, like, got my backpack, got my computer in there,
Yep.
and I get there, and I mean, even a master's program, it's like I was 10 years older than everyone,
Yeah. Yeah.
What's been the best part though is like, so I'm going to USC and I get student football tickets,
Yeah.
but I have to sit in the student section, which and that is where I feel
Right.
the most old, man. It
Right.
is crazy.
Like I can't do this. This is
Yeah,
too
I
loud.
I did it. It was fun. It was like, but
Yeah.
like it's a different feeling over the student section.
Oh, for
So
sure. That's hilarious,
yeah,
especially at a USC game, right? I mean, that's wild.
exactly,
Um,
exactly.
well, and that's because I remember that too. I mean, a lot of the people that I was, I did it all online as well, and a lot of people that I was in classes with were quite a bit younger than me. But then,
Yeah.
like, there was me, and then there was like people in their 60s or 70s, like people who
Oh,
are
right,
retired now. They're
right.
getting, their masters or whatever. And I remember, man, I died. There was one time where we had a like a group class, and it was like a whole Saturday that we had to sit in
Yeah.
this class, and it was like all these lectures, and there was a guy that fell asleep, and he was older, and he did the whole like his head tipped back and his mouth just dropped open, and the professor said his name like multiple times, and the guy was out, man. He was not. It's like this guy was in a
Oh,
coma. And so he
yeah.
just sat there and snored with his microphone on for like most of the class, which was great. But
Yes.
no, actually, there was something you said too, that I thought was really cool. You talked about how you going back to school, that was a family decision. Is that kind of how you guys make big decisions, in life? Have you found like as a family that this is just like we kind of make these decisions together?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's it's never been this like I'm the man, I'm the father, like
Yeah.
this is like I'm doing this thing or like
Yeah.
we're moving to this place or like
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And because like a lot especially the big stuff, it like impacts the whole
Yeah.
family. Like you mentioned that like we met up in Montana, like we moved down to California. like 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. And it was like to be closer to our other family, but it was like really hard on the kids.
Yeah.
And we don't take that lightly.
Yeah.
Like if it's up to them, we never would have moved. It's not like it's like we voted on it. And
Right.
and at the end of the day, like I'm doing what's best for my family. But it's like definitely like, yeah, we definitely like talk about these things and take
Yeah.
everyone into consideration for sure.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love it because that's what we do too. That's what we found is like the best thing. Because you're right. I think that's another misconception a lot of times. And I think dads feel this pressure to like, I got to make the best, like I got to make the perfect decision for my family right now. And
For
it's
sure.
all on me. And if I mess up, that's on me too. And I think we've found as well, like all of the big decisions that we've made that have just like, once we do it, we realize that this is exactly what we were supposed to be doing. It's always like when we involve all of us, like the kids, like
Mm.
even like us, down here being in the Phoenix area, we like my wife and I, like we bounced around in Montana, Hawaii, and back and forth from those two places for a while and back in Montana for a bit. And man, we were ready to go like instantly. Like Montana's great, but we were just like, we're like fair weather people. We can't stand the cold. It drops down to
I'm
like
with you.
the 50s here, and we're just like, oh, why is it so cold?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but so like we were ready to go, but like the kids just weren't. And we
Yeah.
like there was still peace about that because we're like, well, it's not like we're not gonna force the kids to do something that's gonna like make them miserable or like break their hearts or anything like that. So we just kind of put it on the back burner and we were like, when if it's gonna work out, it's gonna work out in the right timing. And then like, as time went by, the kids kind of came to us, and we're like, yeah, like I think I could be down for a move. Like I could see, that could be
Mm.
fun. Or maybe they were just burnt out with whatever was going on in their life, in Montana at the time. And when it worked out perfectly. And the kids are like, they're loving it here. So I think that's really
Yeah.
cool. I think the idea of yeah, just making those decisions as a family, and maybe taking that responsibility as like the husband and the father, not so much like I'm going to make the decision. This is what we're going to do. You guys are just going to have to live with it, but maybe it looks more like kind of taking that initiative and involving everybody and just being honest about like, hey, this is what we're thinking, like what do you guys think, and then kind of taking all that input and making decisions from there. I think that's pretty cool. Oh yes,
What are your next ones coming up? Oh
I
yeah.
remember. Yeah, no, no. So let's see, we're gonna go, or I'm gonna go see, so the plot in you is playing, which I actually like. If I'm feeling moody enough, I'll listen to the plot in you. But
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
Boundaries is one of the openers from, and I
Oh right.
love Boundaries, dude. I was last year. That was like my number one album was Boundaries. Death is a Little
Really?
More, dude. I'm so into it. I've seen them before. I'm bummed that they're not headlining because I just like I don't know, they're so good.
I hear
So I'm
you.
gonna go see, yeah, I'll go see those guys.
I
I'll
do
go
that
see,
too though, where there's like an opener that
yeah,
like you're like, oh, I'm going for the opener,
yeah.
and then
Well, and that
yeah.
was, I mean, like, I got to be in the right mood for like deathcore, but like the first time I saw Boundaries, they were like the only metalcore band there, and they were opening for like the headliner was Lorna Shore, which those guys were like a ton of fun to see. But then it
Oh
was like,
yeah.
it was like Brand of Sacrifice,
I love Brand.
and a couple other ones, and it was like they're all incredible live, like they just crushed it. But I just was
Yeah.
like, it was
Yeah.
like three bands that I was like, I wanted to see Boundaries and really wanted to see Lorna Shore, but then there was like three bands in between them and I was just like exhausted. And really, of course, like everyone wants to see Lorna Shore play To the Hellfire and it's like
Of
their
course.
encore song. So I'm just like
Yeah.
falling asleep in the back of the venue, like waiting,
That's hilarious.
for it. But yeah, I'll
Yeah.
go see those guys. Counterparts, I'm excited to see. Counterparts
Yes.
is on that Heaven Let Them Die tour. And
Yeah.
so like Pain of Truth is opening, which I'm super excited to see those guys and Malevolence. Foreign Hands. I feel like Foreign Hands is one of those bands that's just like they're still kind of like under the radar a bit, but I feel like they're gonna
Yeah.
blow up. So that one's coming up. Poison the Well. Although I was a little bummed. I don't think Glassjaw is playing at this point at my because they added it to like the
Um,
beginning of their tour. So it's like they just stacked this one on top of like, like right before the original first date. So it does, at least they didn't list Glassjaw, which I'm a little bummed, but I'm excited to see those guys.
yeah.
Um, uh, what was the one I just H2O is coming through. Um, and Bouncing Souls are doing like
Okay.
a co-headliner.
I'm not familiar
Um,
with them.
so Bouncing Souls and H2O, especially I mean, Bouncing Souls I really like. It's like old school East Coast hardcore punk. Like,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, so super, I mean, tons of fun. These guys, it was like seeing Bane. Like everyone's like, when I saw Bane,
Yeah.
I'm like blanking on the lead vocalist's name, but he wore knee braces because he's just like they're getting
Yeah.
so old.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they did Bouncing Souls and H2O did a co-headliner like 30 years ago, and they're doing the same thing now.
Yeah.
So those guys are getting up there, but that one will be fun.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go see Capstan. I don't know. Do you ever listen to Capstan? Another kind of like
No.
in the vein of like moody core, so like Plotting You, kind of like
Yeah.
emo
Like
metalcore.
that baddie core they call now. Like
That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Baddiecore, like who's the king of
Like
Baddiecore? It's like
TikTok.
Bad Omens,
Like
right?
Bad
Like,
Omens and
yeah,
like Sleep Token are like
that's
the
right.
two
That's
that
right.
kind of
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. And that's okay. So like I'm out here plotting all of mine. You and your crew of dads down there, you guys have a whole system, right? Tell me about your system
we
for
do.
shows.
We do. Okay, so we've got a shared Google sheet. So
Yeah.
there's four of us, all late 30s, all have kids, different
Yeah.
ages. One of them started real early. He's got a kid that's like graduating high school, and then we've
Yeah.
got one just getting started. You know how it goes. Like,
Yep.
um, and yeah, we just have this shared spreadsheet, and we keep record of our past shows and our like upcoming shows. And then we've got like a column for each person, like if they're in or not. And
Yeah.
then we can also like track like who's paid and then like,
Yep.
because usually like one of us will buy like all four tickets and then
Gotcha.
we got a Venmo and then or sometimes like I'll buy this one, you buy the next one, and then we kind of like figure it out. That way
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
not like did I pay for this? Did I
Yeah.
not? And but like I'm down here in Southern California and I'm in this like spot that's like close enough to San Diego and close
Oh
enough to like
yeah.
Orange County. We're in the middle.
Yep.
And so literally like if we can catch every tour because it's going to
Yeah.
stop in either LA or San
Yeah.
Diego.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we even get to pick like what's our favorite venue,
All right. Dang.
I kind of like the Soma a little better than
Yeah. Yeah.
Observatory or something.
Yep.
So
Yep.
but yeah, we just and then as we see them, we're like all adding. And even if it's like something we don't super care for, we'll add it to the list as like an
Yeah.
option,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
my wife told me like I had to try to limit myself to like one per month, which I'm
I
fudging a
know.
little bit. There's, like if there's one at the beginning of the month and the end of the month, I'm like, come
Yeah.
on, that's gotta work. But yeah, sometimes I'm just like, it's nice. I mean, again, it's a huge
Yeah.
difference between growing up in Montana, even like,
Oh man.
like I would drive to Washington to see shows, but it's like they still didn't get everything. Now it's like, sure, like I guess I'll go see those guys, whereas
Yes.
like 5 years ago, if they announced that they'd be in Missoula, I'd be like, no way, and
Yeah.
but I remember,
Yes.
see, I remember too, like I used to have these stress dreams when I lived in Montana that like these bands would finally come and do a show in Missoula, but like nobody would show up and it just sucked. Cause I remember one
It
time,
happened. I was there. I know what you're gonna
which
say.
one? Which one are you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say it was when it was Love and Death when Brian Head Welch came and
Yes,
he played at the Wilma and there was like five people
dude,
there. It was
dude,
like me, it was like literally me and you, like three people, and
yeah,
I was embarrassed. Like
dude.
it like hurt my soul that happened,
I'm gonna
like,
I'm gonna make it so much worse for you. Okay,
oh no.
so we like little backstory with this. This was when like Brian Welch had just dropped recently had like dropped out of Korn,
Yeah, yeah,
became a Christian, was doing like his Christian band thing, and for a while it was just like him, and then he started Love and Death, and so
right,
he's going on tour,
right.
and so I was working for a church at the time that was meeting in this theater, and that's where the show was. And so I already felt awful that there's like nobody there because this guy, like, I mean, he now plays for Korn. Like he's used to playing like these huge shows, like arenas.
Exactly.
And no, hardly anybody's there. I feel awful about it, but I'm like, man, maybe he'll be okay with it. So it was I emceed that show, which is like so weird. Why is there an MC at like,
Yeah.
a show like this? But that's just like because like sometimes churches just make shows weird. But it's like I
Yeah.
emceed this show, and I remember, dude, like so specifically, the tour manager came up to me and he's like, okay, he's like, just so you know, because like initially they had said something about we need somebody to introduce head. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can do that. But then the tour manager came up to me. He's like, hey, just so you know, do not introduce head. He said they're gonna like just kill the lights. He's gonna come out. He's like, don't do an introduction. He's like, he's just gonna come out on his own. So I'm like backstage, and between me and this curtain, I can hear him like warming up. And I'm like, this is wild, man. Like Brian Head Welch. This is so
Yeah.
weird. And so I just like, I'm emceeing in between sets. So I just came up and I was like, I can't mess this up. So I was so nervous. I'm like, don't introduce head. So I kind of just did this whole like, all right, thanks again for like hanging out, everybody. Stick around. We're gonna have head coming up next. So I like mentioned that he was coming up
Oh
next, but I didn't
no.
do an intro. He's gonna be coming up next. So just like, stick around. And I turned around, and as soon as I turned around, head's like running to the stage to start. Like it was the most awkward beginning because like it was almost like he was expecting like me to introduce him, and then I didn't. And it was just like so dead. The lights didn't drop. It was already so awkward, and was like so much more awkward because he was like running out there to get pumped up. And I was just like, all right, just stick around if you want to, kind of thing. Just like the worst
Oh
intro
man.
ever. I blame the tour
Yeah.
manager, but it's like that moment has stuck with me forever. Just watching
I
him just like
bet.
run past, like probably so annoyed and just like no energy whatsoever in the room. But
Yeah. I feel that though. I having not been like a part of any of the booking or just attending
yeah,
shows, it's like I just hope this is good so that they
yeah,
like come back because like your like worst nightmare is like something that did happen.
yeah,
Um there was that like POD played at like the
yeah,
Veterans Center.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And like I had the time of my life, but like there was like 20 people there. And it's like
yeah.
these guys are never coming back here.
Exactly.
They just sold out an arena in Brazil, you know?
Exact.
Like
Oh, for sure. Well, and that's what. So I had two that I was thinking of, and I didn't even think about that one. But I remember we came as Romans, and Miss May I played. It was like a one-off. They were touring with
whoa.
other people, and so they had like a one-off in Missoula, and it was the same deal, man. There was like 20 people there, and I was just
At the
like,
Wilma?
yeah, at the Wilma, yeah. So just
Oh,
like a big, big open space, and just
yeah.
nobody there. I'm like, we're doomed, man. This scene is dead,
Doomed.
So
Yeah.
it is nice to not have to worry about that anymore. It's like people are gonna
Oh
show up.
yeah.
So
Yeah, for
awesome.
sure.
No, what okay, so what about you guys then? I mean, so what are the big shows that you're excited for coming up?
Yeah, I mean we've got very similar lineup because they're just like
Yeah,
coming through here before they hit
exactly. Yeah.
Arizona. But yeah, we've already got tickets for Counterparts. Um and yeah, Poison the Well
Yeah.
is coming up. So that one. Oh, the other one that I missed getting tickets, and it's like the timing of it is weird. I also try to do one a month, and then if it is two a month, I try to space it out a little bit.
Yeah.
But like Chiodos and
Oh,
Imure
yeah.
are on the same card, which
So
is
weird.
crazy. But like I
So
love
weird.
both of them, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
They're playing in San Diego, but they're playing like 2 days before Poison the Well.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like that's a tough ask on the
Yeah.
family and being a dad.
Exactly.
So it was
Exactly.
this like balancing act of like what do I want to see more? And
Yeah. I know.
uh
Well, and that one sold out here
yeah,
instantly. And so I didn't
yeah,
get tickets for it. And I still see tickets floating around online for it.
exactly.
But dude, I had the
Exactly.
same thought. I mean, because I remember reading something where like Emure and Alpha Wolf went on tour, and Emure
I saw
opened for
that
them.
one.
And, which, whatever, I don't, Frankie
Yeah.
Palmieri was just like a jerk and just,
Yes.
made it so awful for everybody. I'm like, if he did
Yes.
that to those guys, like, Chiodos is good, man. I'm like super into him, but I'm like, it is not the
Yeah.
same vibe. Like, how is
Oh
he
my
gonna
gosh.
like vibe with those guys? But
Well, and like the crowd that both of those
Yeah,
bring,
yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
Yep.
So like that, like when I was in Missoula, I worked at the Wilma as a bouncer for a little bit.
Oh
And
yeah,
so
that's
like
right.
you'd see like every band that came in like has their crowd, right? Like whether it's even like hardcore fans or not, just like the people that would even like come to that show is like a type of person, right? And so
Yeah.
like you have like a type of person that listens to Chiodos, and then you've got the
Yep.
mirror, and then you
Yep.
definitely have some cross like me and you, but like that's gonna be a wild scene. Like
It is weird. Yeah, super weird.
yeah,
But
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. But
yeah, yeah,
awesome. Well, hey man, I really appreciate you coming to hang out and talking dad stuff, talking show stuff.
for sure.
It's always good to hear from you too, man. I mean, this, not to make things too cheesy, but I remember when we were like in the process of moving and you and I were messaging and I said something to you about how we were moving down to Arizona and like, when you move, I mean, you guys have done it a lot. You've got like friends and family that are sad and like they're bummed that you're moving and you feel kind of
Oh
bad
yeah,
for leaving them behind and all that stuff. And I was kind of just like, it was kind of like that for a while. And I was like, oh, I'm making my mom cry, all this stuff. It's like,
yeah, 100%.
all this stuff. And then you sent me that message, man, and you were like, "Hey, I'm rooting for you guys. Like that's awesome. You guys are doing this." And that just like meant the world to me. I remember like telling my wife, I was like, that made like my whole week. Just because that stuff is tough, man. So I really appreciated that. Appreciate you. Yeah, man.
That's
Appreciate you
awesome.
coming on and hanging out, and we'll have to do it again
Oh,
sometime.
thanks for letting me know. I
Yeah.
had no idea like what an impact that made, but like you said, I get it. It was when we left Missoula, everybody's crying, my kids are crying, like
Yeah.
like everyone they're throwing us a going away party, and it's
Yeah.
just this like traumatic thing. And then you
Yeah.
get here and you have no friends and you're like, did we do the right thing? And
Yep.
everyone's miserable. And so
Yep.
I get it. I get moving stuff. And every time we move, we're like, we are never moving again.
Oh, for sure.
So
For sure.
yeah.
I think this time's actually the last time for us. I think we're finally in a
That's what
place
I
where
keep
like
saying.
we could stay here. We don't need to move anymore. But
Yeah.
yeah, no. So just let that be a lesson. Text your homies and
Yeah, for sure.
let them know you're proud of them. But awesome. All right,
Cool.
man.